welcome to another episode of Unpacking Love. I'm so excited to be back in the hizzy. Today we've got Mawuena in the house. Mawuena, what's going on, girl?
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you for coming to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to play this game.
Yes. I'm so excited to have you. So, for people who've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know what Flags is. But for the new people who are listening right now, Flags is a game where my guest and I will exchange statements. And then for each statement, we'll both say whether we think that something would be a red flag, a green flag, or a yellow flag. So, we all know what red flags are, right? Like, red flags are no goes, green flags are goes. And then yellow is gonna be that middle area where you're like, you know what, I can actually kind of see it being like a little red, a little green, so I'm gonna put it in the middle. So that's what we'll do, and exchange those statements and then just have a conversation about it. So as you listen in, you can also think about these statements and think about whether those would be red, green, or yellow flags for you. So let me jump in, Mawuena. I'm gonna ask the first question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that you and the guy have been talking for a while, and then he gives you an ultimatum. And the ultimatum is we either get into a relationship or like we need to like walk away from each other. Like he doesn't want to be friends with you. Would you consider that a green flag, red flag, or yellow flag?
Oh, okay. I feel like I need context. I would say yellow just because like if like the roles were reversed, I would want like if we've been talking for a while and like nothing is happening, of course, like I'd be like, what's the next step? So in that sense, it would make sense. But then it's also like, were you like was my value only in being in a relationship? Like, were you only friends with me because of like the ultimatum being like a relationship? So I don't
Mm.
know. I feel like both ways. I definitely see the point of like, and I'm leaning more towards this, thinking of it from my perspective, that if like I was talking to someone and it's been a while, I will also be like, what's going on?
Oh, solid start, girl. Wow, the pressure is getting worse. Okay, let me put my answer together here. You know what? I think the way that you phrased it was perfect because you're like, there's the side of things where it's like, okay, where is this going? And then there's the side of it where it's like, okay, but then my value though, like, does it mean that you only see me as like being valuable to you as a girlfriend? So that I completely get that. And that's really, really, it's a cool take on it. I think for me, I would just be like, you know what? It's a green flag. And the reason why I'm saying it's a green flag is because if I like someone, right? If I really like someone, I cannot just be your friend anymore. It's just not going to happen. And so for me, if someone was to say to me, like, hey, are we going to be in a relationship or should we just go our separate ways? I'll totally get it because for me, I would do the same thing. For me, it's either, okay, if I really like you at this point, we're either going to, be something or we need to go our separate ways. I don't like to have friends, male friends, who I have feelings for. So that's just, that's my
Mhm.
take on it.
Yeah. No, I think I would lean towards that perspective as well. Like, yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also in a weird way, I feel like it also shows that someone is decisive. You know what I mean? The man knows what he wants, baby.
Yeah,
The man is like, you gonna be my girlfriend or are you gonna be my nothing?
right, right. Okay, my question is, what if you're with someone who wants to split all the checks?
I think from my laugh, you can already tell. And from my sound and reaction, listen, that is a red flag. That is a red flag from the city of all red flags. And the reason is this, right? So, I mean, for people who listen to the podcast and who've heard some of these episodes, you know that when I've gone on dates, sometimes it's just really, really hard for me to not even offer. So I am someone who like will offer to split
Mhm.
a check, right?
Yeah,
So this is not coming from a perspective of like, oh, I'm like one of those people who's like, oh no, he has to pay for everything. I don't even think I'm
yeah.
like that, right?
Mhm.
So for me, if you are someone who always says for everything, hey, can we split the check? Hey, I paid for this. Like, can you Venmo me? Can you
Right.
Zelle me? Can you like no, that is a red flag. And I just feel like it just shows because also, right, even let's say in a relationship context or whatever, or even with friends sometimes, like I'll buy someone something. I can buy you
Mhm,
lunch, I can buy you something. And
mhm,
honestly, I don't even if it's in a relationship, I don't have a problem with like buying dinner for both of us, right? And not expecting you
mhm.
to pay me. And so if your expectation is that for every single dime you spend on me, like I need to give you back that money, then that's just, it's a red flag. I think it just shows for me that you also just don't have generosity in you. And listen, no, we don't roll like that. And also, after being informed on this podcast, because I did an episode about girlfriend allowance, and after hearing
Right?
that there are some girls out here getting allowances, okay, getting allowances on top of men just paying for everything. You want to come to me with no allowance and ask me to split everything? No, it's a red flag. How about for you?
Yeah, I was going to say yellow, but I will give my reason why because I don't even know if like yellow is the right flag. Like,
Okay.
so I think like it's really about context and like what it tells you like about like the person's character. Like Michelle, you were saying that some people you can tell that like the splitting of stuff is about I'm not going to spend any more than like I was supposed to. Like I remember, and this was a friend, but like I remember I had this friend who like charged me on Venmo for $1
Right.
because they got me like a bottle of water, like things like that. You're like, like this is a bit suspicious, versus like someone who's also like, oh, I have to cover everything because that's what the man is supposed to do. And you can also kind of tell where usually like that's what the man is supposed to do, where that like perspective is also coming from, and where it can kind of like bleed into other like things about like men's role versus women's role. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's really about like the context of the situation. It would absolutely be lovely to have someone who is super generous and like is like doesn't hurt them to like buy you stuff and things like that. But also like where like that like intention is coming from. And I feel like if you're like dating someone, you'll be able to tell.
Okay, okay.
I don't know if
So
that makes sense.
I think it does make sense. I'm just gonna dig in a little bit, right? So you said that this could have something to do with like intentions or motives behind it. So
Mm-hmm.
would something like, let's say for example, he is saving up towards getting you an engagement ring, and so that's why he's asking to like split the checks. So that would be something that's like a green flag, right? When
Yes.
you look at it. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
then that's what kind of brings the balance of like, okay, there could be a character issue where someone is like not generous, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
also the other side where it's like, okay, maybe every dollar does count because they're saving up towards something.
Right. Yeah.
You know what? Okay, okay, I can see that. Wow, Mawuena, you know what? Thank you for bringing perspective because I can also see it. I'm starting to see the lies. However, you know,
But it's so nice to have things bought for you. I definitely agree with that.
right, right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think you definitely opened my eyes to like, okay, I think if it's a season, if it's a season of this person splitting the checks, then that's
Mhm.
fine. But
Mhm.
yo, if it's a lifetime, lifelong season, then that's not a
I was like,
season.
"Bye."
We're in the trenches. Oh wow. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Gotcha. All right. I'm gonna hit you with my next one then.
Okay.
So you've been in a relationship with this person and they maintain a friendship with their ex and they still want to be friends with their ex. Maybe you've talked to them about how it's making you feel or whatever, and they still want to be friends with their ex. What are the flags here? What flag are we waving?
Huh. I have to say red, and because I think it's different if you have like like women friends versus like an ex, right? And um like, I don't know, usually it's so easy for me to say that, oh, I don't think I personally will be bothered. But I think like if the person is going out of their way to say, oh, like you guys are really close and it makes me feel a bit like uncomfortable, I think like the nice thing to do would be to like consider just like taking the like considering your partner's feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
feel like I would lean towards red just because of like the part of a question where you're like the person has said something, Yeah.
Mm,
I
okay,
don't know.
okay.
What do you think?
Before I say what I think, maybe I should even rephrase my question to just see if your answer would change.
Mhm.
So, generally speaking, though, would you say you're someone who would be okay with your like boyfriend being friends with their ex?
I would be okay with it. I think.
Okay, okay.
Yes. I am
Wow,
just
wow. Okay, can you
depend.
give me more information? Because I am the opposite. I'm the opposite. Because anyway. But you know what? I'm here to learn.
My definition of friends might be a bit loose here. Like I'm okay with people being cordial with their exes or like
Cordial. Okay, can we
um
say like let's say like they're friends, they hang out, they go for lunch, they meet up for coffee, they go riding the bikes together in the city.
I feel like you can ride the bike with me. I don't know how to ride bicycles, by the way.
Okay, okay. How about like the doing the lunches
Especially
and stuff? Is that okay?
like how often? I think there's a line, right? It's like I would be okay with it, but I think there's a line that just would start to feel a bit uncomfortable for like me as a partner in like a relationship with someone who is spending like an insane amount of time with someone who they were in a previous relationship with versus like like they occasionally like check in or like when they see each other like it's cordial and stuff like that. That one like
Mm-hmm.
it's fine, like you're friends, but like you're not friends. I don't, I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. No, 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 no. I think this was good. The reason why I wanted us to talk more about that was because I realized that the way I asked my question was already very biased because I was like, oh, and this person, like you've
Yeah,
already told them that you're uncomfortable, right? But then
yeah.
what made me question in a different way was because you said like, oh, like it's fine for like my person to have like, female friends and all of that stuff. So I was like, oh, what if it's like, okay, the ex is just a friend, but you haven't spoken out about like how close they are. Okay, I think that's fair. That's fair. So thank you for that. Yes, let me let me answer now because clearly y'all know I'd already come in hot. You know what? Okay, so for me, right, and to rephrase or to ask the question again, the question was around: would I be okay with my ex being not my ex? Would I be okay with my friend being? Hey, I'm
Your
even struggling to
boyfriend.
put it together because my mind cannot comprehend. I cannot fathom. Okay, would I be okay with my boyfriend being friends with their ex? So
Hmm.
for me, it would be a red flag, right?
Hmm.
And the reason is this. Honestly, guys, okay. Let me also like start by saying
Okay.
if this was a significant relationship that happened in adulthood, right?
Yeah.
So let's say over the past 10 years. The reason I'm saying 10 years is because what if these people were in an 8-year relationship, right? So, like, maybe they got out of the relationship 2 years ago, but it was an 8-year relationship,
Yeah.
or like any significant relationship that happened in your 20s.
Yeah.
And then you tell me that you guys were like in a relationship and all of that stuff, and then you guys broke up, and then you guys are friends. That's really uncomfortable for me. And the reason why it's uncomfortable is because with exes, I feel like there's a lot of familiarity. I can
Hmm.
speak to my ex right now, and literally, it can sound like we're picking up conversation from yesterday, right? Because they're inside jokes that we shared, like
Yeah.
this similar humor. There
Yeah.
are certain things that like we that are common between us, like we like the same things, and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
And I also feel like I guess it depends, right? But for some time, there is still some sort of care you would have towards an ex,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
then, basing it on all of that, I would not be okay with my person being friends with their ex because I know you people are already familiar. It doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't take much, but like the history just breeds familiarity, and I feel like it's very easy for things to cross over. And then
Hmm.
also, while I might trust my boyfriend,
Hmm.
I this other woman owes me nothing.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
And you know what? Me, I know how women are when they want their person back. Okay? She'll come sneakily, just being your friend. And then next thing you know, your man is confused. Now he's like, oh, I don't think that this is the relationship for me. My ex and I have been talking. So I think based on all of that, I'm like, no.
But
Out of
like,
respect for a relationship, the current relationship, I don't think people should be like chit chatting. In the event that I bump into you in public, yeah, sure.
mhm.
Hi, whatever, bye. But like, should we be checking in? Even if it's like every quarter, why are you checking on me to see how I'm doing? What does that have to do with you?
But Michelle, if your ex can fold that easily, then like maybe it's good for you to know ahead of like so that you can also like say bye to him. I don't know.
No, it's not that he can fold easily. I'm just saying, like, I don't even know how to explain it. I feel like when you talk to someone who you've never had feelings with,
Mhm.
you can definitely just be like platonic friends. But if you're
Mhm.
talking to like an ex who you were
Mhm.
even physically intimate with, you know this person's body.
Yeah.
What do you not know about this person? Right? Like
Yeah.
it's just it's very uncomfortable, I would
No, I
say.
see what you're saying. And I think when you also get the context of like how long, how significant, like how recent, like if it's
Yes,
like, oh, that was my boyfriend in like junior secondary, like, oh, okay, cool,
right.
a bit different. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean also even about like in terms of duration of things or how long or blah blah blah. I think also um it,
And even the reason for the breakup.
yes, yes, that's a good one. Reason for breakup, but also something I was gonna say was it also even is about someone's current status, right? Like if I have an ex right now who's married, why am I talking to my ex? Even if I'm single,
Mhm.
like why
Mhm.
am I don't know. Like why? Why am I talking to like my married ex, right? Because where's that going to go?
Mhm. Mhm. That's fair.
And clearly I do not condone home wrecking. So that's why I'm like, you know what? If the thing ended, if the relationship ended, right? And people are in relationships now, friendship with exes is just not something that I would condone. So
Mhm. That's fair.
all I would definitely say is there's definitely no like green flag for me on this one. There's absolutely no green. And actually,
Yeah.
it's even more of a red flag, crimson, even deeper red. If you are holding on to this ex, like you
Yeah.
know how I feel about it, I've told you how I feel about it, and you still continue to say, "Oh no, this person is like a very significant person in my
Mhm.
life. I don't want to let them go." Then to
Yeah.
me, actually, if we go back to what you said,
Yeah.
Mawuena, then to me it just signals to me that you know what, in terms of priorities, this is the person who you would rather still talk to, right? Like my
Yeah.
feelings don't matter, so let me take myself
Mhm.
out of the equation.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Has at least one photo with the same woman on his dating profile.
Okay, you know uh, okay, so it is a green flag
Mhm.
if it is your relative
Yeah.
and you have spelt it out, right? Like you've actually spelt it out on your profile that this is my sister or this is my cousin, then that's fine.
Mhm.
But if it's not if it's not your relative
Mhm.
and this person is in multiple photos of yours, for me, it's just a no. It's a red flag. It's just like I, I don't even want to know. I mean, the fact that this person is in all of your photos means that there's some sort of significance, right? There's some sort
Yeah.
of significance. You guys must be like in close relation or
Yeah.
whatever. But then, but then I guess in the same breath, though, if this woman appears in multiple photos
Mhm.
and it's group photos. So, like, let's say, for example, for some reason, which some guys do this, for some reason, most of his photos are like group photos. There's like
Yeah.
7 of them, and this girl's
Yeah.
always there. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, why is this girl there?
Right.
But if it is like in a bunch of your photos, it's you and this girl at a wedding together, you and this girl at the beach, you and this girl, okay, like, what's going on?
No,
No.
yeah.
So I guess for me, it's a yellow flag. It depends. If it's your relative, we'll go green. If it's group photos and it's the same girl, I'm still green-ish, right? Well, depending on how close she is to you in all those photos. Oh my gosh. Do we have a problem? Anyway, depending on how close she is to you in those photos, it could be like green or yellow.
Mhm.
And then if it's like it's just yeah, this girl and you guys are always just the two of you, that's a red flag, and I'm swiping left. Thank you. Next. How about for you?
I would say yellow too, like, again, like, relative, like, cool, like, or friend, like, I think, like, if it's also, like, you have pictures with multiple different friends on your profile,
Hmm.
cool. But if it seems like, a specific pattern, I just have to ask more questions, like, I need to know more. Is this, like, your childhood friend? Is this, like a classmate, things like that. I just have to know more. Is there anything that you need to share so that I know whether to, swipe or, so
Mm.
it's not immediately a red for me too. It's like a yellow of like, can you tell me more?
Come
Just so I
on, Mawuena, with the patience.
just so I know, like, well, I mean, the person can also lie. That's the thing. So, oh man, yeah, but I will go with yellow.
Yo, I was like trying to hold back when you were speaking because
Yeah.
you were like, oh, for example, is this a classmate? I'm like, listen, if this girl is your classmate and you people are in multiple photos, it looks like y'all did a lot of group projects together. What's
Yeah,
going
that's
on?
I'll be like, wow, like tell me more about these projects.
Also, I'm trying to figure out if there was like an anatomy group project between the two of
Mhm,
y'all because,
mhm,
hey, what's going on? I would say you definitely have more patience in terms of you're curious enough to at least still speak to the person and like figure
mhm,
it out. Whereas I think
mhm.
for me, if like my gut has already told me from just looking that something is fishy, I don't have time to
Yeah,
even ask you questions because
yeah,
first of all, the fact that you're putting this one person in all your
yeah,
photos means that if anything comes up and I'm upset about something, there's a very high
yeah.
chance you're willing to fight for this person, which am I willing to put myself in those battles?
I'll do that. Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
I mean, it's easier to say on like, a podcast than in reality. Like, Michelle, you know me, I don't like stress. So would I, so yeah, that's a good point.
No, but you know what? In the same breath, though, like I like how you said it's easier, like to say on a podcast, and you were referring to how
Yeah.
to what you said, even to what I
Yeah.
said. Listen, okay, if this man was ticking a lot of my boxes, if this man, oh, I would swipe right. I would swipe right. I'm like, you know what? I'm literally gonna be a Mawuena right now, and I'm gonna ask questions so that I can really be convinced for myself that this is something we don't want to do. So all of that being, I always say on these episodes, this is just us sharing our opinions, please.
Yeah.
Don't put any weight
Mhm.
to these things. And also, you know what? Sometimes actuals and what would have been expected are very different, right? It's like people
No,
be out
yeah.
here saying, I am swiping left. Meanwhile, Michelle's out here swiping right, 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 right for these people who have these, significant people in their photos. So, yeah.
It's like when people are like, oh, like literally every person is like, oh, the guy has to be like 6 feet. And it's like, you know how many, there are not that many men who are 6 feet. So, like, the reality is you probably won't end up with someone at that height. So,
Oh man, yo, speak it. You better speak it. I'm telling you. Which actually, on that note of like six
Mhm.
feet or whatever, you probably saw the reel I shared on Instagram, but I saw this Instagram reel and it was this guy and he was saying like, when my friends post these cute selfies on their stories, Instagram stories, looking cute and whatever, I'm actually never like, oh, hyping them up, like, oh, you look great or whatever. And he was like, because I know they're trying to signal something to somebody, right? And then he goes, and it's probably an emotionally unavailable 6'2" man. I said, I said, yo, how spot on is that? I'm telling you, people have target audiences for those Instagram stories. So yeah.
I'm crying.
Yo, for real. Oh man. Okay. So the next one is if he wants you to leave your job after you're married, what are we thinking? Green, red, or yellow?
Red, confidently. Because why? like I feel like a lot of the time, based on like stories and experiences I've had, like a lot of men who want women to leave their jobs, it's not out of a like, oh, I just want to take care of you kind of thing. Is I feel like it's usually very rooted in like, uh, you need to take care of the house, or like maybe I can speak for like the West African context where like gender roles are like a super strict thing of like you need to take care of
Mm,
the house, you need to take care of the children, things like that. And it's like why if that's a reason, like why am I the one who needs to like sacrifice like things I enjoy? Like if this is a partnership, why can't we like figure things out together? It's red for me just because I feel like most of the time when um men like or when some men ask that kind of question or make that kind of request is rooted in a very like patriarchal like perspective.
mm,
I might be wrong, but that's usually how I feel. And also just like being dependent on someone that life is life. I feel like that's kind of, for me that's kind of scary. And I know I joke a lot about like finding a sugar daddy or whatever, but like it's all
a
jokes.
glucose
Right,
father.
glucose guardian, yeah. In reality, I would be too like afraid of being dependent to that like, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's someone's like if that's someone's lifestyle or how they prefer to live. Um, but I feel like I'm not trusting enough to do that.
Mm. Oh wow, solidly said, solidly put. Well spoken there. I would definitely say I share the same sentiment and same flag. It's definitely a red flag for me, right?
Mhm.
Um and again, obviously this is based on like what I am looking for in a relationship. And I would want to be with someone who considers me as a partner. I don't
Mhm.
want to be with someone who dictates what I
Yes.
do and what I
Mhm.
don't do. And
Mhm.
so the moment that someone says to me like, "Oh yeah, like after I marry you, this is how it's going to work. Like you're going to stop working." That's a lot of control that I'm not willing to take. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of other things to consider, right? Like you brought up the whole thing about just having to depend on someone. And
Yeah.
independence is actually something that like, Mawena and I like we've had for years, right? Like from when
Mhm.
we came for undergrad.
Yeah.
And I would say this, even though we used to work in the beginning for like, maybe for me, I used to work at like a front desk at my school,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it would be for like a very very few hours,
Yeah.
per day, and then I would get very little money, like minimum wage for it at the end of the month, guys. Even if, and I'm not going to give you a real number, but even if I was getting $10 that month, that was my money. That was
Yeah.
like $10 that I was like, wow, I made this. Like,
Mhm.
wow, I get to make decisions on this, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, as you progress, the $10 also grows. So maybe now you earn $20, whatever the numbers are. And
Mhm.
so for someone to like come and literally say, because I've married you, just because you are now my wife, you need to leave the ability to make your own money and
Yeah.
stay home.
Mhm.
That's a very, very big red flag. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's a very big red flag. And I was trying to think if this was someone who's a multimillionaire and they said to me like, "Oh, you need to leave your job," it would
Mhm.
still be a red flag. So it's not even about how
Yeah.
much money the person has. I think it's
Mhm.
more of the autonomy, or like, do I feel like I'm being silenced, right?
Yeah.
Or like something is being taken from me.
Mhm.
But then also, that's not to say that like if I'm married to someone, I'm gonna want to work all the time. Like if we can have the conversation, I'm fine with like staying home at some point.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
we talk about it, I'm just
Yeah.
not okay with it being like shoved down my throat.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great perspective. Like honestly, like being, for example, being a stay at home mom is not easy. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a job, but I think I agree with your perspective. It's about like what the conversation is, and like, am I allowed to be my own person, my own individual? Like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
intention behind this like desire of like the husband or like the partner or whatever, you know.
Right. No, true. And I mean, some years back, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and they were telling me that um, in the country that they come from, which is on the west coast of
Mhm.
Africa, West Africa, I guess, in the country that they come from, they're like, yeah, it's there's a lot of this that happens. With like people our parents' generation, where the husbands would be like, once they marry someone, they're like, you're not gonna work anymore. And then, unfortunately, though, they are not loving husbands at the end of the day. And now it's more of like a control lever that they use. So there's
Mhm.
like financial manipulation that can happen
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that that's why, like, when I hear stories like that, I can so see what you're saying, Mawuena, where it's like, life sometimes happens, and unfortunately sometimes people change, and
Mhm.
so if someone has basically told you that you're not going to work, you didn't even have a say in that. You now depend on them for everything. If you need to buy groceries in the house, if you need to buy underwear, if you need to get nails done, if you need to get hair done, like every single thing that you need to go
Mhm.
to them and ask, for money. And that might be a very uncomfortable thing, especially if you're coming from a position where you were able to like buy those things for
Do that for
yourself,
yourself. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And not have to like ask. So I think that's just the perspective that we have here. But I'll also say in the same breath, I know that there are some girlies out there who are listening who are like, what? That would be the dream. If you told me not to work, that would be the dream. And you know what? Power to you guys, right? I think that like people are just built very differently. And some girls want that, which is great because that means that for the men who want to marry girls who will be like, yes, I will stay home, they have women out there who want that, right? So it's just more of a demand and supply. You know what I mean?
And I can imagine if you end up with someone who turns out to be like genuinely like generous and kind and, you know, all of the good attributes, like
Mhm.
great to have like that like flexibility of like not needing to worry about like income and, you know, things like that. That's like a heavy burden that, you know, I wish we could all just live without needing to worry so much, you know.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And you know what? I think ultimately too in relationships, it comes down to what people are looking for. Because I know people, right,
Mhm.
who are like at the top of their lists, what
Mhm.
matters the most is financial stability. And
Mhm.
for them, it doesn't matter what cost it comes at. So if it means that, like, oh, he's the one who like runs everything, but I
Mhm.
get to chop finance, I'm here. I'm here for it. And
Mhm.
that's perfect because that's what you're looking for. But then if
Yeah.
you're someone who's like, you know what, I do like to have a say
Mhm.
in things that happen, or like to have a discussion about certain things, then like there are certain things that you're not willing to, trade off on,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's like, to stay at home and like still maybe even get a salary from the husband. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's what's up. Cool, cool, cool. Let me hear your next one.
How do you feel about a mama's boy?
Red flag. Red flag. Listen, the Bible itself says that. Therefore, a man will leave his mother and father and cleave. Is it cleave? I think it's cleave. Basically, something along the lines of like hold on to his wife, Sha. That's what it says. So, and you know what? I guess how the definition. I guess it also depends on like how people define
Yes.
mama's boy, because the
Mhm.
definition that I'm going off of here is like someone who is heavily dependent on his mother, right?
Mhm.
To the extent that they cannot even make their own adult decisions,
Mhm.
and to the extent that like whatever the mom says goes,
Yeah.
right? And you
Mhm.
know what? At the end of the day, we're all adults, right? There are certain things where it's like, okay, you also now need to, obviously, parents can give you advice on certain things, right?
Yeah.
And if when you hear the advice, it makes sense to take it, then
Yes.
sure. But
Mhm.
then not one of those things where like like a parent, someone's parent is just saying things and the person just does it out of, oh, they're my parents, I have to do it, but you're married with like a whole family. And you know what, there's this podcast that I was listening to, and even not even just podcasts, like even just stories I hear of how these women will be talking about how, yeah, like, his mom would call even if it was like at 3 a.m. and not for emergencies, by the way. Maybe if she was like, oh, it's 3 a.m., I'm craving like biscuits. This
Mhm.
man would leave the house at 3 a.m. to go to his mother's house to go and deliver biscuits.
Oh,
Biscuits that can be delivered the
wow.
next morning. And
Oh,
obviously that's
wow.
even a small thing. But like even bigger things where like I've heard women say, oh, like their husband would like basically he cannot make a decision for the
Mhm,
family unless if he consults his mother. He
mhm.
cannot make a decision for him and his wife and his children unless if he consults his mother. And it's kind
Wow.
of like, we have a big problem because
Mhm,
why is your mother running the marriage? That's
mhm,
not how it works.
mhm,
That's not how it works. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So if someone is a mama's boy to the extent that like, okay, they're so dependent on their mother and what their mom says goes, yeah, that's a red flag. And you know what? I will also say if I was that person too, with like whatever my parents said go to someone, yes, I'm a red flag. Consider me a red flag, right? Because literally it means that if this person's parent says like, oh, um, let's say for example, there's a job opportunity to move to like another state, and his mother says, no, you guys shouldn't go, then you're not going anywhere. If you wanna go on a vacation somewhere and the mom says, "Oh, I don't think it's a good idea. You just don't know the people in that country, don't go." You're not going anywhere. That is madness. that that is straight madness. So it's a red flag. It's a red flag for me. How about for you, Mona? Wow, I came in hot.
I feel like I with the examples that you've given, like red, uh, because initially I was going to say, oh, like yellow, and like I know someone who like would visit his mom like every Sunday, things like that. It's like, but if we're thinking of it in terms of like a lack of independence, that's definitely a red flag for me too. Like, you can't make decisions for yourself. Then like, what are we doing here?
And
And
you know what, Mawena, before you even continue, I want to go back to like the part that you said, where you said someone who visits their mom every week.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what I was saying, I have a problem with like the dependency, right? Like
Mhm.
you can't do anything, can't make decisions for yourself. But
Yeah.
I absolutely adore it when someone is close to their family.
Mhm.
It's like beautiful because
Mhm.
I feel like if you're close to your
Yeah.
mother, or if you're like close to like some sort of female figure, maybe it could be
Mhm.
like a sister or something like that, the way that you even treat women is different, right?
Yeah.
Like you know how to treat women, you know how to like take care of
Yeah.
women. So I absolutely love that. Don't get me wrong. If you have a great relationship with your mother, that's beautiful. But if you cannot make any decisions as a grown
Or
man,
if you're calling them like, hey, we want to move. Should we do it? Sorry.
hey, mommy, which fridge should we buy? What?
Oh, what?
Exactly. So yes, Mawena, sorry I cut you off. Please continue.
Oh, crying. Oh my goodness. No, yes, I agree. In terms of independence, that's definitely a red flag. Like, oh wow, no, no.
Dude, that's so funny because I feel like in your mind you're just running the scenarios of like
Yeah.
interdependency, right? And
What?
it's like, yo, I'm telling you, there's a lot of crazy things that happen in the world.
Mm,
And not
mm-mm.
even just and here's the thing, it's not even just like mama's boy. It could even be like daddy's girl, right?
Mm, mhm.
Daddy's girl, and now she's married, but the husband has no say because her father is the one who's running the household. Like, what in the craziness is going on? What is going on? Full blown adults, right?
Yeah, yes, that's red, red. The yeah.
And I just feel like, you know what, in a marriage context and all of that, the two people who really should be making the decisions
We
for
make
their
the decisions
family
together.
is the husband and the wife, right? Like the parents, yeah, people can give you advice, but I
Mm.
don't think that you should run with every single thing that
Yeah,
people tell you to do.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, this is now your family and your legacy that you're now building.
yeah. And I imagine even like very serious like decisions, like you would even have a conversation about who you should get advice from. Like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
deep.
yeah, like depending on what the topic is, like
Mm-hmm.
feel like even who you get advice from for very serious things should be a discussion. I don't know.
That's true. No, you're right. And I think also this even goes beyond being a parent's boy, parent's girl, I've heard of stories of um like men's sisters who run like their brothers' households,
Mhm. I've
right?
heard. Yeah. Mhm.
And honestly, it's just crazy. And like, I don't know, what it's like in like, different cultures and stuff.
Mhm.
But I know, for example, like in like our Shona culture, right? Like Zimbabwean culture,
Mhm.
there's a certain way of like respecting husbands, sisters, right? That
Yeah.
you have to do. So much so that I feel like sometimes you can have husband sisters who be wilding,
Mhm.
doing all sorts of crazy things, but because of the whole cultural respect thing, you
Yeah.
cannot say anything. You
Yeah.
actually can't say anything as like the wife, right? Maybe you can like speak to your husband in private or whatever, but you actually can't say anything to like the actual husband sisters. And I've heard this on like podcasts. There's this one. It's called the podcast I keep talking about. It's called The Feeling Station, and it's a breakup podcast. And people will come and they'll say their story of how it started and like how it ended. And on
Mhm.
there's so many stories of like, oh yeah, like my husband's sisters were pretty much like running the same thing that I was saying. Like
Mhm.
nothing happens if the sisters say like this thing should not be happening. Or the
Right.
person's like, or like the husband's older siblings. It could be like older brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if you're making the decision to be married or to marry someone, the
Mhm.
decisions have to be coming from the both of y'all. It should
Agreed.
not be your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers. It should be coming from both of y'all. So that's all I have to say about that.
I agree with you, Michelle. Yeah. I've also like I have heard some stories and like thinking about the whole culture thing, I think about that a lot because it's like, man, like when you're trying to be reasonable, then somebody else might see it as like disrespect and like trying to
Hmm.
navigate. You need to have a partner who is like on the same page with you about like navigating those kinds of things.
Right. And you know what? Actually, some other things that I've even heard that have come up would be things like even when your family, so like the family that you come from, let's say me, if I was married to somebody
Mhm.
and my family stepped out of line and they said things, to my
Mhm.
husband or whatever, I
Mhm.
have to be in the position to defend him against them,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And and then vice
If
versa.
he's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes. Big obviously I'm not saying like if he's like
Oh yeah,
disrespectful
yeah.
and he's doing all sorts of crazy things,
Yeah.
like you should defend him. But let's say
Yeah.
like there's just unreasonable things that are being said or
Mhm.
like that are being done,
Mhm.
then I have to like take that position of like pro- protecting sounds weird, but like
Yeah.
protecting the person from family. And the same goes opposite way too, right? Where it's like,
You're the same. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So let's say, for example, a husband's mother is forever shouting at your wife, right? At like her daughter-in-law. You as the son, I'm not saying you have to have the conversation with your mother like in front of the wife. Yeah, maybe sometimes obviously deal with it the way you should. But you
Mhm.
as the son should have a conversation with your mother and tell them, you don't speak to my wife like that. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's how like even this mama's boy thing, daddy's girl thing, where it's like, look,
Mhm.
if it's now at a point where no matter like, how this person talks to your spouse, you're just gonna be fine with it, even though you can see it's wrong, then that's a problem.
Right. Yeah. I think I think we're on the same page. I was gonna say I just imagine all sorts of things now and I'm like stressed.
Wait, give us some scenarios, Mawuena, please.
Oh, just like the whole like having someone like dictates like your day to day. I feel like that sounds just yeah, you need someone who's independent for sure and like can make decisions for themselves.
Right. But you know what? I'm actually wondering though, if it is possible, I guess in the extreme cases,
Yeah.
people can pick it up maybe when they're in a relationship. But I think for some of the stories I've heard, these things come up while when you're now married. So I don't even know if there's a way to like figure it out. Like if someone is like a mama's boy or a daddy's girl or whatever, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Let me know. Hit me up. in the DMs on Instagram at Unfaking Love. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on what we said. But then more importantly, let us know what your thoughts are on these questions. Are these things red flags for you, green flags, yellow flags? And also, if you've experienced some of these things, please come and share. Come and spill the tea because you know I love some good tea. I love some good tea. So yeah, thank you so so much to Mawuena for being on the podcast. You made it so fun and you brought a fresh perspective. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me. This was fun.
It was so fun. And to everybody who was listening, thank you so much for listening. Really, really appreciate the support. Make sure that you go and you rate the podcast. Leave some stars, guys. Okay. And then also make sure that you come and follow me on Instagram and then we can have chats and stuff. And as always, if you want to be on the podcast, hit me up and we can find a topic that works for you and me. That's it from us, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Peace.